In the dusty border town of Sri Ganganagar in Rajasthan in 1952, a boy was born who would one day live a life divided between two nations. His name was Ravindra Kaushik. From the beginning, he seemed ordinary, a boy growing up in a disciplined middle-class household, where education, quiet ambition, and respect shaped daily life. Yet even in childhood, there were signs of something extraordinary. He had a sharp mind, an excellent memory, and a natural talent for performance. On stage, he could become someone else entirely, confident, persuasive, believable. That rare ability to inhabit another identity would one day define his life. During his college years, Kaushik participated in a national theatre event where he performed a patriotic monologue. His delivery was powerful yet controlled, emotional yet precise. Among those watching were individuals who were not merely spectators. India in the early 1970s was navigating a tense regional landscape. The aftermath of war and the shifting balance of power in South Asia had intensified the need for intelligence beyond borders. Agencies were quietly searching for individuals with unusual qualities, sharp minds, emotional discipline, and the capacity to live in shadows. Kaushik stood out. Soon after that performance, he was discreetly approached by officers linked to India's External Intelligence Service, the Research and Analysis Wing, commonly known as RAW. The conversation was quiet, measured, almost ordinary. No grand speeches, no immediate decisions. Instead, there were questions about loyalty, about sacrifice, about whether he could imagine living a life where recognition might never come. For a young man in his early 20s, the proposition was extraordinary. It meant disappearing from public life. It meant serving his country without uniform, without medals, without acknowledgement. Kaushik agreed. What followed was not adventure, but preparation. RAW subjected him to years of intensive training. He learned fluent Urdu, mastering not just words but rhythm, accent, and nuance. He studied Islamic theology and cultural practices in depth, understanding that small daily habits often reveal more than official documents. He was trained in surveillance, coded communication, and psychological endurance. Most importantly, he was prepared to erase his past. His former identity would gradually fade, even from official records. Family connections would be severed. Personal history would be rewritten. Every detail mattered: handwriting style, educational background, family origins, even body language. One slip in pronunciation, one inconsistency in memory could cost a life. He was not crossing a border. He was crossing out of his own life. Inside a quiet facility overseen by RAW, Ravindra Kaushik sat in silence as his future was placed before him. A new name, a new faith, a new country. If he accepted, Ravindra Kaushik would slowly disappear, not in headlines but in records, in memory, in identity. He agreed, and the erasure began. His voice was the first to change. Trainers corrected every syllable as he repeated Urdu phrases again and again until his speech carried the natural rhythm of Karachi streets. He was taught not just what to say, but how to breathe between words. A pause too long could signal doubt. A reaction too quick could signal rehearsal. Every syllable mattered. Then came faith. He memorized verses of the Quran, practiced daily prayers until the movements were fluid, unthinking. He learned when to lower his gaze, how to greet elders, how to respond to conversation without hesitation. This was not performance. Performance ends. This had to continue every day without error. His handwriting was altered, his signatures retrained, his past rewritten. He memorized the details of a childhood that had never happened, streets he had never walked, relatives who had never existed. Slowly, methodically, Ravindra Kaushik faded. In his place stood Nabi, pronounced Nabi. When he finally crossed into Pakistan in the mid-1970s, there was no dramatic soundtrack, no final glance backward, just a quiet step forward. From that moment on, a single mistake would not mean embarrassment. It would mean interrogation, torture, death. To build legitimacy, he enrolled at the University of Karachi to study law. Law meant credibility, structure, belonging. In crowded classrooms, he listened more than he spoke. When debates turned political, he answered calmly, never extreme, never silent, just enough patriotism, just enough conviction. He made friends, shared tea, laughed at jokes. And every night alone, he carried the weight of the truth no one could know. Years passed, his degree was completed. His identity held firm, no suspicion, no cracks. Then came the deeper step, entry into Pakistan's military structure. Background checks examined his documents. His fabricated history was tested. it survived. He secured a position in the military accounts department of the Pakistan Army. On the surface, it seemed ordinary: files, budgets, ledgers, but numbers tell stories. Logistics reveal intent. From behind a desk, he could see the quiet movements of strategy, troop allocations, supply routes, defense planning. Information that never reached newspapers. Information that mattered. And slowly, carefully, that information moved back across the border, through coded channels designed to leave no trace. Each transmission carried risk. Each message could be the last. By day, he stood among officers who trusted him. He attended ceremonies, observed national rituals, spoke of duty and security with steady confidence. He could not overact. That would be dangerous. He had to believe just enough to survive. For nearly a decade, he lived this way. Two identities. One heartbeat. Promotions came. Trust deepened. He was no longer just inside the system. He was part of it. And yet, beneath the routine, tension never left him. Every unexpected question felt heavier. Every new security measure tightened the air around him. Deep cover is not about dramatic escapes. It is about endurance. Waking up each morning and remembering who you must be while never forgetting who you truly are. Somewhere far away, India benefited from the intelligence he quietly provided. But inside Pakistan, Nabi lived completely, convincingly, dangerously real. The theatre artist from Rajasthan had once mastered the art of becoming someone else. Now there was no audience, no applause, only silence. No secret remains hidden forever. In the early 1980s, a single thread began to unravel. A fellow operative, captured and interrogated, revealed details that pointed toward him. Arrest came quietly. No warning, no dramatic confrontation, only the weight of realization. Every lie, every gesture, every calculation about to be stripped away. Interrogation followed, harsh, relentless, questions that probed identity, contacts, allegiance. Years of meticulous training were tested in moments. Every answer measured against suspicion. He could not falter. One mistake, one hesitation, and the life he had lived in shadows would end. Inside prison walls, isolation was absolute. Letters to family denied, recognition impossible. He was a ghost to those he served, a stranger to those he loved. Memories of childhood, of theatre, of home became distant echoes, luxuries he could no longer afford. Even as he endured, he carried the silent knowledge that his sacrifices had shielded India from danger. Yet the personal cost was immense. Health deteriorated, spirits waned. And through it all, he remained steadfast, a man who had lived a life invisible in service of a nation that could never publicly claim him. In 2001, far from home, Ravindra Kaushik passed away. Buried quietly in foreign soil, a hero known to few. No headlines, no medals, no public acknowledgement. Yet his legacy endures, not in applause but in the intelligence he delivered, the decisions he shaped, and the silent courage of a life lived entirely in shadows. The theatre actor from Rajasthan had once learned to become someone else. Now he had lived it every day, in silence, in danger, in complete isolation. And in that life he became India's most valuable secret, a man invisible to the world, yet eternal in courage, sacrifice, and duty. This is the story of the Black Tiger, the spy who vanished from life to protect a nation he could never claim, the spy who became a ghost, whose story must never be forgotten.